Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. One would ask if it's my birthday or if I know someone whose birthday it is, but nope, I just actually felt like singing the birthday song today. Let's do the black version. Happy birthday to ya. Happy. Okay, enough of that. I just needed to get hyped. That's all. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm so excited today. Today we're gonna be talking about, let's poppin' beautiful people. Today we're gonna be talking about a BPD, because this is what happens. This is what tends to happen when I talk about BPD. It goes a little something like this. I tell a family member, a friend, yeah, so I just got diagnosed with BPD. And they say, oh my gosh, congrats, you're so brave for coming out the closet. And I say, oh, no, I'm not a part of the LGBTQ community. I just have a mental illness that has an acronym. This is Chit Chat and Chai with Auntie Gelu. We're gonna get real up close and personal today. I was honestly struggling to bring this topic up because BPD is a very, very, very pesky little mental disorder. But I thought, since this whole chit chat with Auntie Gelu, Chit Chat and Chai, with Auntie Gelu is supposed to be very real. We're keeping it real over here. I was like, why don't I just share some of my, not to brag that I have a lot of mental illnesses, but I do have two, and counting, that we know of. And I just thought the one that has been the most just surprising and bizarre and nebulous and confusing one is BPD. ADHD, I feel like half of my generation, if not 90% of my generation has it. But BPD is a really interesting one because she was lurking in the dark and I just didn't know she was there until I got therapy. But I want to talk about, let me look at my notes real quick. And I'm gonna be like extra hyped today because I've been cheating and I was sipping on this chai a little bit before this video and now I'm off the rockers. Sorry. Just smelling caffeine, being in the same room as caffeine makes my heart palpitate. It's really not good for me, which is why I had to stop coffee, and it hurts because I'm Ethiopian and my ancestors, we don't bleed blood, we bleed coffee. I just can't drink it because I actually, like, you think the Energizer Bunny's cute? I jump into different galaxies and multiverses when I'm on coffee. Moving along, to inform you on what BPD is, I wanted to take a little bit more of a scientific approach because I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I know what I'm saying. All of these are very much based on my personal experiences, okay? Let's go ahead and always take what I say with a grain of salt. Just a grain. BPD is a mental health condition that's marked by extreme fluctuations, mood fluctuations, instability in interpersonal relationships, impulsivity. Oh, I gotta get my leg through here. Ah! Okay, we're good. There we go. My long limbs, they were struggling. But that's basically the high level definition of what it is. Now, how it manifests in different people is different. There are similarities in symptoms for sure. The way that it manifests for me is different for the way that it manifests for other people. And I would highly recommend, if what I'm saying today resonates with you, I really recommend you talk to your therapist about it because BPD is such hard work. Working through BPD is really painful. So how BPD has manifested for me is there were 4 things that manifested. I'm really struggling with mentioning the 4th because it may get me emotional and I'm just trying to make sure I stay lighted on here, but also keeping it real because it was tough. But 4 ways. First was emotional regulation. Emotional regulation with BPD is nearly impossible, and we'll get into it. Feels nearly impossible, but I have been able to get through it, and I have found the tools and resources that work for me that I will also share. Second is black and white thinking. So with BPD, it's just like part of this disorder makes you very black and white when it comes to how you trust people, when it comes to how you see yourself, when it comes to how you face challenges. Second, or third, I can't count, is identity and self-image issues which were the biggest struggle for me, especially as someone, I think when people see me or talk to me or people who know me would not assume that I have low self-esteem, but I had really low self-esteem. I'm working on it, and I've accepted that it's just like sort of a part of who I am. My knees are so ashy. I can't believe I just showed y'all that. My greatest apologies. And then the fourth one is suicidal thoughts, which this one I'm not going to take lighthearted. I'm not going to joke through that one as I'm talking through it. I really was struggling to even bring it up, to be honest, but I think it's helpful for people who are potentially going through the same thing to see. I won't go into great detail because I already feel myself getting emotional, but what the fuck? I didn't even, see, it's triggering. So maybe I'll wait to bring that one up because I'm still working through that. So yeah, give me a second. So clearly I'm not ready to talk about that fourth point, and that's okay. We're taking it slowly but surely, and I'm not gonna like, that's why I was like, I can't like laugh or smile through that one. So we'll take it slow. Like, we'll be with each other for a while, I think. So when I'm comfortable sharing it and we can work through things together, then we can chat about that fourth one. But in the meantime, we'll talk about the three. I feel like I have a much better handle. Oh my God. I feel like one of those YouTube apology videos where it's like, and me crying is not also like that crazy. I used to be so anti-crying in front of people. Now I'm like, if I don't cry, I will actually go crazy. I need something too. I just need something that's cathartic when it comes to like sadness. So anyways, going into the first point I mentioned, which is emotional regulation. And before I get into symptoms that I personally had, I do want to list out some other symptoms that occur with other people. One of them is fear of abandonment, unstable and intense relationships, unstable self-image or sense of self, which is one that I experienced, rapid mood changes, which you've already seen. You've already seen in this video. Like, I feel like every day I wake up as a different person or feel in a completely different way, which is just BPD fucking with my mind. And also just in a sentence, I went from like, yay, to like, wait a minute, guys. I'm not making fun. Actually, I am making fun of myself. It is what it is. And impulsive and dangerous behaviors, that's the one that got me. And then repeated self-harm or suicidal behavior, persistent feelings of emptiness, which is a big one, which also just like ties wonderfully into with depression. It's like red wine and red meat. They just go so well together. Anger management issues, which I thought was inherited from my madre, but which it also could be, not gonna lie. And temporary paranoid thoughts, which also I experienced. Firstly, with emotional regulation, it is so difficult to, I don't know if anyone else feels this way. I'm just speaking my truth and hopefully somebody gets it. We can chat about it, or you feel what I'm feeling and then we go through this journey together of figuring shit out. But I think it's so difficult to regulate my emotions when I'm feeling really down. I just like can't, especially with depression. I feel like it's a black hole and I can't even look, like I'm just like stuck in this deep ditch that I don't know how to, I can't claw myself out. It's like a very grim and hopeless place to be, and part of that comes with my lack of being able to regulate my emotions, because when I feel an emotion, I just let it sit and I don't know where to go next. And something that I've been working on to help combat that is to do more and think less. And actually, I think before I go into how I help treat some of these things, or not treat, how I work through some of these things, I do want to talk about where BPD even comes from. Again, very different. There's no formula. It's very different for each person. But a lot of where BPD a lot of where BPD comes from stems from your childhood, which is a lot of things stem from your childhood, which is why I think talking through it with a therapist is helpful. But it says that if you get a BPD diagnosis, you're more likely than most people to have difficult or traumatic experiences growing up, such as often having felt afraid, upset, unsupported, or invalidated, family difficulties or instability, such as living with a parent or carer who's experienced an addiction, sexual, physical, and emotional abuse or neglect, and losing a parent. Specifically with the physical abuse, as a child of immigrant parents, I think we don't talk enough about the effects that beating your kids has on different kids. So some kids are like, yeah, I'm gonna beat my kids too because I needed that. But how it manifests for different children is starkly different. I know people who think it was a good thing for them to get corporal punishment, but I personally think that was like detrimental to me. It did a lot to me to where my identity issues now stem from that, and I'll explain why. What's happening there is I was not a bad child, but I definitely was a rebellious child who talked a lot in classes, and I was always, you know how in like second grade you'll have your teacher has like red light, yellow light, and green red light, yellow light, green light. I was the kid who was always on green light, like not green light, red light. I was always on the class clown, had trouble focusing. And because of that, I got beat a lot as a kid. At the time, I didn't think it was doing anything to me, but as I got older, I realized that my identity became almost like a reward response of like, oh, did I do a good job this time? Oh, are you gonna hit me this time? I just remember things being so tumultuous because I wouldn't know when my next beating was, because I was thinking like, I'm just doing me. Like, this is where the identity problem comes, because when you're being yourself, you're punished. And so you then have a crisis of like, being yourself is never good enough, which is so fucking deep, y'all. Like, so deep. And I really want y'all to let that sink in. Again, my experience is very unique, and like not very unique, but it's different. But if you were beat as a child and you feel as though like you don't know who you are because who you are as a child was not the ideal, and you were punished for being yourself, careful with that one, because it's got me figuring fucked up now as an adult. That sort of ties in with when I was talking about emotion. Wow, I sort of went into identity and self-image issues there, so I'm gonna just knock that one out as well. Emotional regulation, that one is, I don't really understand where that stems from, but at least for me personally. But I will say what's helped me a lot with emotional regulation is meditation. And I don't mean like or breathe in, breathe out, although breath is a huge component. When I say meditation, it's a muscle that you have to build of being extremely present and understanding that your thoughts are nothing but just cars that are in passing traffic. Once you don't let yourself become so tied to your thoughts, it's actually extremely freeing, because you now you can step back from the chaos that's going on up here, and you're able to maintain a sense of stability, which is all emotional regulation is maintaining stability in the chaos that's happening in here. And for my people who are imaginative, have very hyperactive minds, it's really difficult, and we're just gonna have to work harder at building that muscle, because we just have to get stronger. The next thing is black and white thinking. This one is a little confusing to me. It's very, very much present in my life, but I think as I worked on the first two of emotional regulation and identity, it started to like fade a little bit more. So with black and white thinking, you basically are like, oh, this person didn't text me back, they don't like me. End of story. I'm cutting them off. Like, you tend to have very up and down relationships with people, and or trust issues. So if somebody chuckles in the corner because you said something, even though it may not be directly tied to what you said, you'll be like, oh my god, that person hates me. All right, time to either start being mean to them, or passive aggressive, or completely ignoring them. It's just not always true. And even if it was, it doesn't matter. Like, it shouldn't affect how you view yourself. And really quickly, to go a little bit deeper into how you view yourself, identity is like the big one that comes up for me with BPD, so I'm going to be mentioning it often. But reflecting too much on who you think you are is actually not healthy for you. It's impossible to pinpoint who you are as a person. I'm going to go ahead and save you so much work. You will never figure yourself out, nor do you want to, because you change so much. You will change. Every 10 years, you're going to be a different person, which is a shared experience across humans. So go ahead and just focus on what you're not. And that helps you a lot with figuring out what your personal boundaries are, what your values are, what you stand for. Because if you stand for everything, you stand for nothing. And understanding that who you are is not some pretty box that you can put yourself in. And that's like how it is for every person. Even if you're on social media, these people who do put themselves in pretty boxes, don't assume that's all they are. Every single human on this planet is multifaceted, because everyone goes through an array of shit. The only person who is not multifaceted are babies, because they've only been on this earth for like 3 years. So they don't really have much. And for half of those years, they didn't know what the fuck was going on. So just remember that you don't have to figure yourself out. You never will. And in trying to figure yourself out, what you tend to do is compare yourself. I'm not going to go too deep into comparison, but I will say that comparing yourself to other people, comparing your life to other people, is not making you any better. I used to look at people that I admired and be like, why am I not like them? Maybe I should be more funny. Maybe I should be prettier. Maybe I should be skinnier. I'm like, that's not making you a better you. What you need to focus on is what you actually want for your life, the life that you want for yourself, and figuring out how to do that in your own way. Looking at other people is only confusing you. You're not doing yourself a favor. You're not doing yourself a favor by comparing yourself to others. And I'm telling you all of this because I've wasted so much time doing it myself that I'm trying to save y'all from this. If you want to, I'm also like a go for it. Like, make mistakes and then come back and be like, oh, true, what she said is accurate. Because I also don't like being told what to do. So if you need to figure it out yourself, go for it, which is why I say take my shit with a grain of salt. But also, like, if you get it, like, hear me out. I'm like talking to you, like, hear me out. Like, I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I have. Reeling it back into black and white. Sorry, my ADHD's on fire today, so just follow along, keep up. But the seeking approval, like with black and white thinking, some of that also can be tied into seeking approval from others. When I was mentioning, oh, you see someone kikiing in the corner because you said something, and then your mind is like, oh my god, attack, enemy. That could also just be you seeking approval from others. And let me tell you a quote that I came up with that changed my life. Seeking approval from others will negatively impact your self-understanding. And because we're working on trying to not figure ourselves out, but just gain a deeper understanding of ourselves, we don't want to seek approval from others, because that's just shortcutting all the work that we're putting into understanding ourselves. You want to be a solid rock. Obviously, you will grow and change, but like water, you want to be flexible, but also water always maintains its shape. It always maintains its shape when you put it in different situations. It's still water, but when you put it in different situations, it's flexible, it's manageable, but it doesn't change. It doesn't turn into orange juice or wine. Unless, of course, Jesus comes into play, then he'll wreck your shit. And if you're water, you're wine now. Imagine the identity crisis that water had when it turned into wine. I do want you to remember that seeking approval from other people is something that I'm constantly working on. Seeking approval from other people will negatively impact your self-understanding. And we're supposed to be in this together. You and yourself and I are supposed to be in this together. So don't do yourself a disservice like that. And a podcast that I really, really, really recommend for you guys to listen to, it's called Back from the Borderline. I'll link it in the description, but it helped me so much. This girl, she is like so real and relaxing. You know those people who are very like, so welcome back to my channel. Those people, I'm just like, I feel like I'm in a fairy tale. She has that voice, but she's also very real, and I absolutely love her. And I think she has a lot of good tips on how, like, what BPD is and how to get through it. It is a mental disorder, but I don't think you have to live with it for your whole life, or you just get better at dealing with it when it does come and try to ruin your life. I'm gonna leave you guys, excuse me. Whoa, disrespectful. I'm gonna leave you guys with a little, let's do an exercise together. Oh my god, I feel so wholesome. So something, I know I'd mentioned meditation. Why am I hot? I mentioned meditation and focusing on your breathing, and a really good exercise is to count to 30, which is so hard, but counting down from 30 with your breath is really helpful. And here's a little tip for today, just a little thing that you can do to make a tiny, it's like a percentage, but it matters because these little habits add up, is while if you're sitting and watching this video, notice what your shoulders are doing. Are your shoulders like this? I want you to open your shoulders up. I always try to remind myself, oh, I gotta stretch. My back be going like, oh my god. That was not my back, that was the cup. Every time you're stressed or you feel like you've been sitting for too long in one place, just open your shoulders. Yeah, anyways, this was a little bit less structured than my last video, but I hope it was helpful because the next video is on ADHD and I can't wait for that one to go off the rails. I already know that one's gonna be quite unstructured. I did try to put some structure into this and it's hilarious because that didn't work, but I hope it helped. I hope this video helped, you know, just a little bit. I'm here with you, although I'm not physically with you. How you're feeling, I promise you're not the only person in the world who feels this way. There have been millions of people before you and there'll be millions after, and then there are millions now. What helps a lot is try not to isolate, try not to think that you're the only person going through this, because I promise you other people have. People won't fix your problems for you, but you're definitely not alone. And if I can tattoo that on my forehead for you, I would. But I'm just too scared of the pain, even though I do have 2 tattoos already. Anyways, love you so much. Can't wait to see you in my next video, and cheers!